Oh, that was nice of her. My mother-in-law sent this down. She could hear me ask for water upstairs. Am I not lucky? Like, I have the best mother-in-law ever. So, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So it's going to be more conversational. We're going to kind of do an interview here in a second to like kick things off so you guys can get to know them as you start seeing new faces coming on to share. You know, I think you're going to be like, man, like you're going to really connect with people as they come on and share their stories, where they came from, you know, their goals, their vision, their views, and how they overcame some of the many things that trip us up in this business. You know, we're all human. We all start at the same place. We all started just by ourselves, you know. Just one, you know, we all sign up ourselves and that's it. I think sometimes we get this idea that maybe myself, I signed up and just already had 13,000 people underneath me or something. But I swear 7 years ago, did you hear that? Everybody write that down. 7 years ago, it's a crock pot. We're going to talk about crock pot connections. But 7 years ago, I signed up, just me, you know, signed up Chad because it's business. It's like, business stupid not to. I don't know how else to make that more pleasant to say. But and then I signed up my dad because he was my dad's always been super supportive of me, and he was like, sure, you know, whatever, you can do it, Summer, you can do it. So he signed up so that I could get Emerald. And you know, 7 years later of learning and tweaking things and struggling in leadership and struggling in inviting and learning and failing forward, just like these two right here, I sit here 7 years later. So I suppose the first question I have for you, will you still be here in 7 years? You know what I'm saying? Like that's like thinking the long game. Like Chad talked about, hopefully you guys saw that weekly focus that Chad was talking about, which Chris Webb, a lot of the guys on our team and the husbands and Chad, you know, are in a group with Dave Ward, and we watched a video. Chad saw the video. He's like, Summer, you're gonna love this video. And I did. It was about the long game. You know, thinking long term. Like when someone, you know, goes like, I want to be a lawyer, they're not pissed off that they don't have their certificate in their hand after week one, you know? So, you know, selling this whole idea that this is like some quick, get rich quick thing. And we start to see that a lot, you know, with spotlights in our business, that we start to think short game and get really ticked off when we haven't reached it. And so refocusing ourselves into, as a professional does, for those of you that have completed Like a Boss training, you think long game, and you're here, and this is you are your brand, and we're going to talk about that today. But a couple things I want to go over, just some housekeeping, so to speak, and some awesome recognition before we dig in with Angela and Heather. Well, first of all, I don't know if Caitlin Redmond is on here, but how many of you lost a good 14 minutes of your life today that you can't get back because Caitlin Redmond posted on social media the biggest zit I have ever seen? See, some of you guys don't get sidetracked and get off and go watch this zit, but it was something like upstairs, me, and I lost 14 minutes of my life watching it with my mother-in-law. Well, first I watched it with my sister-in-law, and we were just like, you know, it's like you can't like take your eyes off it. You're like, oh my gosh. And I was like squeezing her. I was like, ah, like, you know, and then we're like, Jenny, you have to watch this. And so I lost another 7 minutes of my life. And then Chad watched, you know, so the power of social media, you see that? A zit. And I'm not saying go post zit. I'm not saying that, but you know, that's the power of influence. You know what I mean? Like it started with, you know, like in a matter of 2 minutes, she had like 10 comments on her zip video. All right, so anyway, we're going to dig deeper into building social media and different things like that. But you have to think about why people come on social media. There's different reasons to make a connection, to kind of, you know, what's the right word? Escape a little bit. You know, I had a big, long conversation with my friend. She's a coach. She's a dietitian. And then we're about to release a campaign called Smash That Scale. And we were talking about marketing and social media technique and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, when the golden times are and why I was teaching her about why the golden times are where they are and how people are escaping and all that kind of stuff for a short period of time. I mean, come on, how many of you guys put your kids to bed, right? You put your kids to bed and you sit down and maybe your husband's still doing something, you know, maybe paying some bills. How many of you guys flip open Facebook, right? 98% of the population does, right? So if 98% of the population are going to have their head, you know, especially in our, you know, in our age range, maybe our grandparents don't some grandparents do. I see them out to dinner staring at an iPhone, like 75 years old. I'm like, really? Did we really go there with that? But if they're gonna have their head buried in it, we might as well use it for good, or even some fun like the zits that Caitlin posted. But we're gonna dig into that. But first, you guys, I want to remind you guys that this is your business. Remember, you're a professional, so I'm not gonna take a bunch of time to go over like what's posted in the back office. I want to remind you to check it once or twice a week to see what, you know, hot news is back there. You know, I would be really insulting you to run a webinar, in my opinion, that stole 20 minutes of your life telling you about something that's already in your back office. So you'll never see me do that, but I wanted to remind you guys to look back there. You know, as you'll see the recording from the National Wake Up Call, you'll see little highlights. You know, Summit is 30, are we down to 36 days away or something? Someone correct me. But Summit is just over a month away, you guys. And so 37. Of course, Sherry Beasley would know that. My sweet little emerald. You know what I mean? But you know, there's updates back there, and you know, Country Heat is coming out. Like, you need to know these things. You know, it's your business. Take it seriously, okay? So let's talk about Summit for a second. 37 days away, which is absolutely exciting. If you do not have a ticket to Rooftop Leadership with Scott Mann, or your spouse doesn't, please, you guys. Like, if you can't even come to Summit, if you come for that one day, a day with him, 4 hours with him, and then top coaches on our team, which are some of the top coaches in this industry, in our entire network, are going to be on a stage in front of you guys. That is priceless. Working with Scott Mann is something that Chad and I just sit with him for how many days? Each leadership conference was separate, right? So one day with him.
It's basically 4 days with him.
4 days with him. How much did that cost us?
That was
$6,000.
Yeah.
4 days with him was $6,000, and I'm asking you to pay, I don't remember, $35, $40, I don't know. But anyway, it's definitely not $6,000. So if you can't get to Summit, but you can get there for Thursday, how did Libby Wilson get up on the viewer panel list up here? Libby, how you sneaking into places, girl? Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So you guys, if you can't get to anything else, I would get it. I would be in that room. I'd be in that room. Tracy Morrow is going to be with us. You know, she's gonna come on stage and be a part of a panel and stuff like that. And we're gonna have a men's panel. You really don't want to miss it. And then of course we have the team party. We're just gonna cut loose, you know, and we're just going to be our tribe. You know, we're gonna have fun together. We're gonna get to know each other. We're gonna dance together. You know, we're going to hug, we're going to talk, we're going to share stories, you know, and I know it's the same night as the Success Club party, but this goes from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. That's how long we have rented the entire top part is for Team Courage and everybody in the downline. And so at least have a ticket, stop by, meet some of the people that you talk to on the computer, but actually wrap your arms around them, you know. Nicole Grafton and her team made this absolutely hilarious video that I'm going to be posting in the next couple days. She shared it with me about why you should not go to Summit. That's just, I'm going to leave you, I mean, think of reasons you should not go to Summit. I'll leave you guessing. So anyway, okay, one more thing before we jump into recognition. You guys, tonight, Chad, I need your phone. Babe, he left with the phone. Tonight, we are going to, Chad and I are going to release our next Worth Fighting For.
Sorry.
I need that phone, like, seriously.
Oh. Okay. I'll have to call you back. I apologize.
Yes. So the headbands are releasing tonight. And then also our newest shirts are releasing tonight. Sorry, Chad, I only need it for like a couple of minutes. And I'm going to show you guys the picture really quick so that you guys can see. So here, can you guys see? Here are the headbands. Can anybody see it? It says Girl Boss right across the top of it. You can get it in black or you can get it in, hold on. You can't see it, can you? Anyway, it's pink. You can get it black or pink, and then our shirts, you might not, it's not going to let me show you. That is such a bummer. Doesn't matter. They're pink shirts that say, "He will be our peace." Micah 5:5. So a little bit more faith-based on that one, and we have more in production already. You know what I mean? So every time we release something, there's always, there's some, we don't know, they'll probably release in a couple months, but we already have new things coming out. So we went with the faith-based one. That is one that that has really helped me through a lot. He will be my peace. See, I was chasing a place for peace. Does that make sense? I was trying to find peace in people when I needed to find it in him. And so I hold that verse is very near and dear to my heart. So we had to put it on a shirt, and definitely had to be on pink. Sorry, guys, men. But Chad will start a line too, I'm sure someday. I'll get him right on that. So anyway, there is a very small amount. We'll build 2 houses with these 3 houses with these shirts and headbands. So once they sell out, and if you are part of that, you built a house. You helped build one of the 3 houses in Nicaragua, which is absolutely incredible. I don't even know what we're up to at this point in terms of how many houses we built, but we are definitely approaching halfway, which is awesome because we're halfway through the year. So we are right on track, and all because of you guys. I mean, the 5K was an absolute hit. We built, our goal was 100 runners, and we had almost 300. We had 297 runners, walkers, crawlers. We had a biker, right, girl? And it really all sprouted from the Webs, and they're great, which is Team Shockwave, and their great love for running. And they did a 5K, and I said, yes, we can run with that. So they sparked that whole thing, and then a team of runners came together. Christy Vincent's team came together, the Crazy Nuts, and they helped me along with Casey Wallace with the designs. It is such a team effort, you guys, and I have to thank you for that. So the second round will release tonight, and I'll release them in our team page first. You'll have until the morning, and then after that they go public, and then they'll be gone. So all right, let's get down to a little recognition, you guys. So we have, I like to start with my favorite, those that have completed Like a Boss training, okay? Like a Boss training, why is that my favorite one? Because I know if you become a student of those things, if you become a student of Like a Boss, the same way I became a student of Danny Johnson, you took notes and you listen to it, and you get in the car and you listen to it, and you get up in the morning and you listen to it because you're a professional. Remember, we talked about that. I talked about this in Like a Boss training, and you really start to internalize these things. It is finished, if you ask me. The long game is finished. If you become a student, the recipe works, the scripts works. They're a combination of things I've learned along the way with some of the top leaders, not only in the industry, like through Danny Johnson and stuff, but through this team of the Failing Forward with many of the leaders that you know. So we've tried a lot of things, and some things didn't work. We learned, and now we have Like a Boss training, and that is where I want you guys focus. So who completed Like a Boss training? Brenda Smith, Danielle, and if I butcher your guys' names, I apologize. I do not mean to disrespect you at all. Danielle Di Lorenzo, Rebecca Paymer, if I said that right. I always call her Palmer, so Paymer, and Jessica Williams, which Jessica Williams, those of you guys, gotta think about this. Jessica Williams' mom passed away a couple months ago, and to see her name pop up on here that she's coming back and refocusing and sharing her story on social media and seeing her open up and stuff, which is what Heather and Angela will talk about, being vulnerable, to see her name pop up on that really made me smile, because she is a professional in my eyes. To be able to work through that, she really struggled, and to come back and to share and to see her going through the training is absolutely amazing. My second favorite is those that have finished a program. Why? Because this is what we do, man. You're a belief maker, and the number one piece that you need to be a belief maker, there's several that we've talked about through Maxwell, but number one is setting the example, putting one foot in front of the other, like Jessica Williams has, through things, but being a product of the product, not having a six-pack, but being an advocate for our products, what they do internally and externally, and how that's changed your life, and learning how to share that on social media. So those that have finished a program are Heather Custer, which is incredible. She didn't say what program she finished. I'm assuming maybe 22-minute. And Jessica Looney. if you guys could say, I would love for you guys, if you're on here, to say, you know, what your results were and what program you were doing. A couple more things, just to shout out, we had an Emerald Advancement with Jessica Looney. Go figure, look at that. I'm seeing like, you'll start to see new names duplicate themselves. And then I love the invite portion, because I've posted before, like there's certain things you can't control. Okay, you cannot control who says yes to you, when they're ready, where they're at in their cycle of the change. You can't control that. I posted that in our team page not too long ago, where you had things you can control and things you can't control. One of the things you can control are who you invite, the number of connects that people you're connecting with, and being the light to, and sharing how you're sharing on social media, who you're loving and seeing as, you know, and treating them as they are wonderfully made. You can control those kind of things. And so 10 plus invites to their rooftop, to the coaching opportunity, to me is incredible, you know, at this point. So Brenda Smith has 20. And you guys, this girl has stepped way outside her comfort zone. You guys understand it. Brenda Smith, like, kind of cowered in this, when I first met her at a retreat, she was so shy, so nervous in the corner, and I just went up and, you know, talked to her a little bit, and to see her come out of her shell over the last couple of years. Now she runs her own Made to Crave webinar, where she is scared of public speaking, but she shows up. Why? To serve people. That's her mindset. We're going to talk about that. Heather and Angela and I talked about that mindset piece when it comes to why you're doing what you're doing. But Brenda shows up because she's serving other people, and that's her heart. So 20 invites to a team that has completely changed her life, a process that has changed her life in so many different ways, and I love that. And then Jen Yoder has 10 plus coach invites. So I'm not going to go through a ton of names tonight. There's so many that I wrote on here. I mean, we got, you know, Joel Kears, I think I'm saying that right, and Marlene, his wife. They have 9 and 6 Success Club points. You know what I mean? So Joel has 6, and Marlene has 9 together combined. They have 15 Success Club points, you guys. Absolutely amazing. And if you don't follow either one of them, I highly suggest it. I don't know exactly how many pounds she is down. It's quite a bit, but who's been on my heart lately is Joel, down 50 pounds, and his face, you guys, just lights up my newsfeed. You know what I mean? He's in my challenge group right now, and I love it. You know what I mean? Like the way he is so real and vulnerable and encouraging and sharing his journey in the sea of women, but uplifting them. It is the most awesome thing, in my opinion, to see men and women come together like that to support and encourage each other. For a man to come in like that and lift people up, that is leadership. And he has just been on my heart lately. And so I want to give him a special shout out. Woo! All right, you guys, let me unmute. Heather and Angela are here. You guys okay over there? Angela, you look stressed, like you're like going like this. You okay? Are you okay, girl? Uh-oh.
I was talking. What I do? What happened? Can you hear us?
You guys have a really, really weak connection. Can I see your phone? So are you guys, is this generally where you sit when you do webinars?
We're in a room next door. I'm usually at my desk, but it's in the open space of my house, and we have 3 little kids running around frantically playing.
Okay.
So I went into a closed door room.
Okay, well, we're going to do the best that we can. You guys are frozen, so we'll do the best that we can and then go from there. Okay, so I'm not going to do a big intro with them, because I really want to do it more interview style. They're obviously both moms. They're both Diamond coaches. Both of their husbands are in law enforcement. But what I want you guys to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, starting with Angela. Like, what is what keeps pushing you forward? How long have you been a coach? Let's start there.
I have been a coach for 2.5 years. And Heather's my coach. She signed me up, so I'm her baby.
Awesome. Okay, so what initially attracted you to coaching?
I wanted Shakeology, and I was a full-time preschool teacher, and I didn't make that much. So I had asked Heather if there was a way I could get Shakeology cheaper to fit into my budget. I had tried it for a couple weeks and had an amazing feeling. I could feel the difference. And I knew it was something that my body needed. So I had asked her if I could get it for less. And she said, oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I
gotta ask you though, what made you go from that discount mindset, like I just want a more budget friendly price, to, you know what, I'm going for this? Because you stepped away from teaching preschool, yes or no? You've been able to step away. So what made you go from, I'm going to just fit this in my budget better, to, I'm going to build this thing?
It was the fact that my 16-year-old had a dentist appointment and cried when I couldn't stay with her. I had to pick her up from high school, drop her off, and it was her very first cavity ever. And I had to just drop her off so she could handle it herself and get back to work, because I only had a very small time frame for a break. And she was in tears. And around that time, I had seen some amazing results when I committed to myself, and with all the love and support that I got from Heather and the challenge groups. People started asking me what the difference was. You're glowing, you look like a different person, you look amazing, you seem like you're happier. And I was so excited. I wanted to share that with other people. And I didn't realize that's really all that Heather was doing. So I decided that it was an avenue that I could use to be able to get what I wanted, to be able to be there for my kids anytime I wanted and not have to stress out financially anymore. I just had a light switch that went off.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you can pinpoint it down to something like that. Something, I'm gonna need that. Something that can seem so small, but impacts your heart and just explodes, So I love that. Some of you guys can probably relate to that. Let's jump over to Heather, Heather, you look absolutely awesome in a headband, by the way, girl. You can rock a headband. I've been meaning to tell you that. I know. It looks good on you. It looks good on you. So I'm going to ask you the same question. Did you come in discount initially like Angela?
I did. Actually, I've been coaching now, it'll be 3 years at the end of the year. And yeah, I did. I came in as the discount coach. I wanted my Shakeology. I loved drinking it every day. And why not, go in for the discount if I could do it. So yeah, originally just for the discounts. And I love the groups. I love being part of the community. It was, my journey was, I was getting my results from my program. And I just loved the whole community part of it. And I just wanted to be around it all the time. So, yeah.
So when did your light switch go? What caused you to start building? Or to do something other than just enjoy the community? Do you know what I mean? And start actually offering up the community to other people?
Because I was in the challenge groups, I was already kind of offering that support and giving that support, because naturally inside of me, that's what I love to do. And when I was giving that support and other people were getting those results, I knew in my heart, like, this was my passion. Like, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to help inspire other people to, get them to feel good like I was feeling. I was feeling finally, happy in my own body. I had struggled for so long, and I just wanted to share that. And why not, do this? I was already doing it, so why not help some people feel as good as I was already feeling?
I love that. I love that. And we're going to talk about this. So, I want to take this and I want to run right into social media, because, both of you know, and everybody else on here, I say that social media is the glue. I personally think it should have been the fourth vital behavior versus recognition. I think we won't get into what I think totally about, but recognition sometimes can cause a comparison trap to happen. And I think it has to be done delicately. So I think the fourth vital behavior, I think you can succeed without recognition. I know you can, because I didn't get any, you know what I mean? Like none, do you know what I mean? And it was fine, you know what I mean? All the way, even on the day that I hit 10 star, Chad walked past me, didn't say anything. My upline had forgot, corporate forgot, but my assistant did it. The amazing Erin Schaefer did it, and she, did a big dance, she was always so good at that. But, like, you can't succeed without recognition. I do not believe in this day and age that you can succeed without running social media like from the rooftop. which is what Angela and Heather are here to talk to us tonight. And that first thing that tripped people up, and this is what those two and I were talking about on the phone today, is that fear of judgment. And that's where we're going to jump in, because I know a lot of you guys, and I hear it a lot, Jessica Williams was that way. Catherine Stickrod, amazing, amazing coach, right? Like Catherine Stickrod, I don't know if she's on here, but she can rock some challengers, man. Like people just love her, great results, great personality, but that fear of judgment on social media is the only thing tripping her up from going like, bam, like seriously, And so I know that fear of judgment really, really is a huge struggle. I mean, raise your hand if that is something that you have struggled with, say amen or something, so I want to hear you two talk about how you overcame that. Which one wants to start? Angela, you want to start, or which one?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start because fear is a topic for me that I feel like for so long I had that fear of everything. My biggest fear, and all my team knows this, is public speaking and getting on these calls. Always have scared me. But when I first started coaching, I mean, you name a fear and I had it. I had every single fear you can imagine. Making a video, sharing, on Facebook, sharing my journey on Facebook. I was nervous about what other people would think. So I know what the fears are about.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know where that came from? I mean, were you harshly criticized growing up, or were you judged harshly? Do you remember a time, or?
I don't remember a time of being like judged, but I remember a time in school having to give a speech in front of the class, and I totally failed. I got up there and I was so nervous, and I never wanted to do it again. I never wanted to speak in front of people, in front of a bunch of people ever again, because the way I felt. So at that moment, public speaking was like, there was a wall. I was like frozen. I couldn't do it. It was in my mind, me telling myself that.
Now,
but no, I didn't feel well.
Did people laugh at you when you did that?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I mean.
It's just,
Yeah. I've had that fear, I not anymore, obviously, but long ago, before I went to Danny Johnson, when I dug back to it, and I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but I grew up in an environment where gossip was not only encouraged, but kind of taught. Like it was, it's kind of all I heard. Do you know what I mean? Like, and all around me, you know what I mean? Someone was always bickering about somebody, judging somebody. But then my mom had this big fear of judgment, you know what I mean? Fear of judgment. And so when she went to my basketball games, if she didn't get there before everybody else, now I went to a big school, you know what I mean? Graduated with 500 or so people. When we played basketball, like the stands were filled. So if she got there when the stands were filled and she had to walk in front, it was extreme anxiety that would cause fights. And I'd hear about the fight later on. And so I internalized that those fights were my fault, and, because it was my basketball game and all kinds of stuff. And so like figuring out where your fear comes from helps you break agreement with it. And that is vital. Okay. That is absolutely vital. And it used to, like, I think about it now and it's like, how many of you guys really care about like who's walking in front to find a seat? Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't cross my mind to make fun of someone trying to find a seat. But so how did you overcome your fear, Heather?
Well, the fear, we'll go back to when I was in a training, one of the fears was making a video, and I was afraid of doing that. Once I did it, I realized I could overcome that, putting myself out there on Facebook and finally hear what others think, because I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm inspiring those people, not caring anymore and just putting myself out there. Really, probably, honestly, just doing those things that scare you is what's helping me overcome those fears.
Yeah, that's good. So action.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You guys, so if you're not doing it, if there's something you're fearful of, like, so for example, as soon as my kids fall off their bike, we don't nurse it. Does that make sense? Like, on the bike right now and ride it, like, immediately, because that you have to overcome the fear. The more you protect something, a fear, the more you, whatever, the grass is not greener on the other side. You guys have always probably heard this. It's greener on the side that you water. Well, if you water this fear, and protect it, it will grow and it will take root and it'll go deeper and deeper and deeper. The same way as if you water confidence. You know what I mean? The more you do it, like Heather was saying, and you water that and you water that, that's what starts to take root. And so action is actually one of the keys is finding the root, breaking agreement, but also action helps you to overcome it, and water that and to replace that fear with something else that is positive. So that was good. Angela, did you have that fear or not so much, a fear of judgment?
I didn't think I did when I started my journey, but I actually found out that I did. I had a fear about what other people saw of me, what they thought of me, and I know that realizing that went back to school days, not feeling 100% accepted into groups and certain friend groups that I was in and things like that. So had to dig deep to find out where that root came from.
Yeah.
But I did. And, just having the fear, I was so scared to discuss. Mama. Go see Daddy. Okay, go see Daddy. Go see Daddy. Shut the door. Thank you. Okay. Sorry.
You're fine.
Police officer kid running around with guns. Okay.
You're fine. You're fine.
But when I realized that if you put away those fears and you stop worrying about what everybody else thinks about you and start realizing that you are unique and that you're wonderfully made, and whatever you're going to share with other people about yourself can be a light to other people. So as soon as I started kind of bringing down that fear wall of what other people were going to think of me, and just really had to go through a whole mindset change of not caring.
Yeah.
I didn't care what anybody else thought. I had to just put out there and doing my thing, doing our thing.
Yep. Here's the thing is, you guys, those of you that have been to D.A. Johnson will hear this. 98% of the population cares what other people think. 2% of the population has a couple trusted advisors. Okay. 98% of the population is dead or dead broke by the age of 65. Completely reliant on friends, family, or the federal government for, that makes me chuckle to even say it, for their living, cost of living. And 2% has that true freedom, that financial freedom, and that peace of mind and everything. 2%, right? So you have got to find people that are in this category, the 2% that's not caring about what everybody else is thinking, and you got to look at their fruit on their tree and decide and follow them. Does that make sense? A lot of us are taking criticism from, now you want to welcome criticism, but from people that have the right fruit on their tree, right? So this judgment that's coming in from people that are broke, okay, struggling, not changing anything, gossiping, not doing anything about their situation. That's their fruit, right? They're angry, they're upset, they're depressed, and not trying to change it, but trying and judging you. Look at their fruit. That is not fruit that you want. So why are we allowing them to speak into our life? I mean, think about that. That's crazy, right? Like if you said, Summer, my son really wants to learn how to play the piano. And I was like, oh, sure, let me teach you. And I came over and it sounded like hell because I can't play the piano. Would you be like, nope, just keep going. You keep teaching him, Summer, but just because you liked me. Do you know what I mean? But the fruit on my tree shows that I can't play the piano worth a damn. So why would you still sit your son next to me to teach that? Does that make sense? So why would you go for life advice to people that don't have the fruit that you want? right? So this whole fear of judgment, we're letting, like, why are we even allowing that to enter in? Does that make sense? Like, you have to rationalize that. And then you have to realize that that fear only comes from the enemy to hold you down. Does that make sense? The enemy knows we're here together like this for a reason. And I'm not going to go all spiritual on you guys, but, and that's dangerous. Like, he's like, oh crap, right? So the number one tool that he uses to hold you back is fear-based, that negative voice that comes in. You have one of two decisions to make. Either let that hold you back or tell that negative voice to go to hell where it belongs. Does that make sense? Okay, and that is a decision. Does that make sense? We are all 30 plus. We have some 20-year-olds, but we are adults. We can no longer blame all this stuff that happened to our past. We have a decision. We are only responsible from here forward, right? Whatever happened back here, your past does not define your future, but you personally have to make a decision, right? To be advised, to let the people that are speaking life into you, positive life, and that have the fruit that you want to speak into your life, and not the others. Yes, my 40 plus people, 50 plus, I love you guys. You guys are inspiring. So that's a great topic, you guys. And if you are struggling with that, I want you to write that down and start to find where that root came from, and to make an affirmation that goes against it. You have to reprogram yourselves, okay? And it's through action, okay? So first, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So if you keep saying, I'm fearful of social media. I talked to Heather about this today, talked to Libby about this last week before we got on a call. If it comes out of your mouth, I'm not good at public speaking, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to, I can guarantee you, no one steps on stage and right before they go on stage go, I'm not good at public speaking, and deliver the most awesome message. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? No one steps into a room, a championship, Super Bowl. The team does not walk on the field and go I think we're going to lose, and then win. Does that make life and death is in the power of the tongue? So you have got to control what's coming out when it comes from that fear-based, fear of judgment, fear of social media, fear of what people are thinking. And then to overcome it, you have to put into action like these two ladies did. Okay, which takes us to the next point. Okay, so you guys are going to have 5 points. Next point is you have to be willing to share your story, right? And I'm going to let them run with this, and then I'll come back and forth, and they'll talk back and forth between each other. But each one of us have a story, and I'm going to let them talk about that. So go ahead. Angela, you want to start?
So we're all coaches. We all end up being coaches, whether it's to, we're feeling good about ourselves and we want to share that with other people, and now we want to be inspiring for others. So they say, post on social media. So you're posting about your health and fitness, and your journey, your health and fitness journey. But who are you? Ask yourself, who am I really? I mean, people are going to, you want to connect with other people. People want to be able to trust you, to grab your hand. And the only way that that's going to happen is by tearing down that wall and opening up and really sharing you. What is your story? What did something happen in your life that you've overcame or that you're overcoming right now? It took a while for me to really get comfortable sharing about some personal stuff. And we're not talking about sharing personal gossip type things or, negative stuff that's happened to you, but sharing things in a way where you can try and be a light in someone's eyes. I started sharing and being a little bit more open about the struggles that my husband and anxiety that I had, the medication that I used to be on, what happened to us as a family and how we overcame that. And little bits and pieces in different posts, not the whole thing at once, but breadcrumbing it. And once I started breaking down that wall of fear, I started getting a lot of personal messages and texts of people just reaching out, thanking me for sharing that, because it really hit their heart. It touched them, and they weren't the only ones that were going through that, and, you know, turned into conversations. But
They get to see who you really were.
they get to see who you really are. And, you know, so think about, who are you? You're not just a coach that is, you know, having these awesome results with your health and fitness journey. You're so much more than that. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah.
It is. It's much deeper. And you just have to, when you break down that wall and start sharing your own personal story about who you are, is when you really start, kind of molding yourself in the kind of coach that you are. You know, we talk about niches. You know, what's your niche? What kind of people are we? You know, what are our audience? Well, I didn't really know who my audience were. You know, I'm a mom. I was a military wife for 10 years and a law officer. I can't even talk. Police officer. That's it, Leo. And preschool teacher. I mean, there was all these things about me and people that I could reach out to, but really,
You dug deep and you were sharing your journey more. So people were connecting with you.
and you realize that when you do that, that you kind of mold you as a coach. You're kind of molding yourself without realizing it into this awesome, unique person where you were wonderfully made, and you're unique. You're different than
You're almost like
everybody
breaking
else.
free. It's almost, you know, you're breaking free, I think, when you start to share your story, you know, and storytelling is actually, and you'll hear Scott Mann talk on this, it's a healing process, in all honesty. And so when we keep it bottled in, it can cause all kinds of things, all kinds of problems on our insides, you know, bitterness, resentment, all kinds of things that we've gone through that can manifest in so many ways, all the way down, research all the way shows right down to cancer, different types of cancer. And so storytelling is healing, not just internally, but for the heart and for the mind, you know, and that's something that Scott Mann was taught by Bo Eason, as he, you know, was it 23 that he didn't bring back home, Chad?
Yeah,
23 of his men as a Green Beret did not come back with him, you know, over his 23 years, right? He lost 23 in 23 years.
I believe it was 25. I'm sorry.
He lost 25.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he couldn't even say those guys' names without just totally losing it. He had just kept it all bottled in, and he stopped. Bo Eason made him say every name over and over and over again and share the story. And it was a healing process. And so that's what Angela's saying. As you start to share your story, you know, and that healing process starts to happen, you start to realize that you are wonderfully made. There is only one you, and people start to connect. And that's what Heather said, is the wonderfully made you, the authentic you. Once people start to see that, that's where that true connection. I'm not talking about these fake connections that we see sometimes. I'm talking that true, I will go to the rooftop with you connection. Okay, that starts to happen between people, and that's the power of social media as you tell your story. And I don't mean, like Angela said, dragging people's names through the mud, but for example, I hid behind my personal training certificate for the first over a year or more of this business, you know, because I didn't want people to know I struggled with yo-yo dieting. It frustrated me that I couldn't fix it. Does that make sense? It frustrated me that I was training other people, but I couldn't fix myself. And so I would hide behind it. I didn't want to admit that the programs I was teaching wasn't working for me, that I had to fall back on P90X. What kind of trainer was I? Does that make sense? So I didn't want people to know. It was so healing to start telling that story. And so sometimes some of you guys are thinking, like, I have these deep stories. Where do I start? I don't want to put it on social media. Mine started in my challenge groups, right? So I started sharing little bits and pieces. So I started to heal, and the courage, you know, as I got positive feedback and people are like, oh my gosh, me too, or me too. And then you realize, like, it's almost becomes like a duty to share it because there's people that are hurting. And that's what, Angela, you guys were saying, right? Heather was saying that today. Do you want to talk more on that, Heather?
Yeah. For myself, you know, my journey is, I have a thyroid journey. I don't know, a lot of people don't know, but for 7 years now, I've been on my thyroid journey, and that's something that, yeah, I definitely share more and am open about, because I know that there's a lot of people who struggle with thyroid disease, and there's a lot of people who really are hurting. There's a lot of people hurting, and I think being vulnerable, putting myself out there, sharing my journey, I'm definitely reaching out to other people. They're reading my posts. They're either getting inspired by my fitness because I'm doing something, or just the kind words of the encouraging words to people that are hurting, that are on a similar journey as myself. So if I didn't put that out there, if I wasn't putting myself out there, nobody would know that about me. And it's definitely like the whole thing. In the beginning, it was scary, because you don't know how you're going to be perceived. But then it's like, I don't think anybody can take that, me sharing my journey as like negative. I'm trying to help people.
Yep. Here's what I was always taught. If you're real, if you're genuine.
Sharing what I'm going through. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a big delay sometimes. So then I feel like I end up talking over you, Heather. I apologize for that. But, I was always taught by Tracy Morrow that if you're real, if you're genuine, if you share with kindness, this is so key, because on social media, you can either push people away, with your viewpoints, or you can make people comfortable to start getting, because you have to remember where you came from. Okay, so Chad and I eat now an incredibly clean diet. Okay, incredibly clean diet. Whereas we used to, Friday night was pizza, nachos, hot wings, alcohol, and do you know what I mean? Like that wasn't, we now like that would never happen. Do you know what I mean? Ever. I would vomit if I did that. You know what I mean? But like I have to remember where I came from, when I'm sharing on social media, because I have to remember the summer back then, if I listened to a person that was not sharing their story, but was always sharing just where they're at now with a very harsh way, this summer back here would never have connected. It would have pushed that summer away. Because you want to know why? Because of the fear of judgment. That everybody, 98% of the population is carrying around this fear of judgment. We're critical of each other. We judge the crap out of each other if we're not eating the way that we eat, or working out the way we work out, or everybody's that's why people fear judgment, is because that's how we treat each other. The lack of trust and camaraderie that is missing in our society today, that Scott talks about, is very real. So when you create this safe place, like Heather was talking about on your social media, that is vulnerable about how you got to where you are right now, people see hope through you. This is soft place, like, okay, so they see where I am now, but I'm always, Danny Johnson teaches, you have to always be telling your story. Do not forget where you came from. I cannot forget that I came from this hurt yo-yo dieter that did chubby checks all the time, that, sat, that was, in bondage to the scale. You know what I mean? That ate crap food and pizza and all those GMOs can you imagine nowadays? I check those kind of things. Chad and I will not put GMO in our body. We will not, we eat grass-fed and all that kind of stuff. But can you imagine if I put judgment on Facebook? The summer, you have to remember, talking to myself 70 years ago, this girl would have never had a connection with this girl now. And so that's why it's so important to always be telling your story. And Danny Johnson says that is your biggest mistake, is forgetting where you came from and forgetting your story. Forgetting, how to tell it with compassion and with heart, so that people are allowed in. So I love that you guys brought that up, which takes us right into number 3, which is going deeper. Is not going surface, right? So can you guys kind of dig deeper on that?
Yeah, you got the good one. Okay. So going deeper, becoming vulnerable with your own story is probably the most important thing you can do, because you are going to, for one, like Summer says, it's absolutely healing when you're sharing like that on social media, and not forgetting where I came from. Like I will breadcrumb. I will still post, something happens, and I will post about, I remember what it felt like,
at that time when I was struggling in certain things and in my depression and in my marriage when it was struggling and things like that. And I talk about it. And I just had a woman that I've known for many years. In fact, one of her daughters was one of my preschoolers a long time ago. And she'll say thank you every so often about, thank you so much for what you posted. You are so inspiring and it's so helpful. And, we chat a little bit, but I've never invited her. And to be honest, she's been on my list forever, and I've never invited her because I kind of prejudged her and she kind of scared me. But yeah, right? So I'm at a baseball game 2 weeks ago, and she sends me this huge, long message about a post I had just posted and what she just did. She stepped outside of her comfort zone, and she's on vacation, and she just went into a store and bought 2 bikinis. And I was like, and we connected and we talked, and I thought, you know what, this is just the right time. And mind you, I've known her for longer than I've been a coach, okay? The right time. And I said, you're more than welcome to jump in any of my groups if you ever want to be surrounded by I would absolutely love to. Please, let's talk. So we made an appointment. We talked for 2.5 hours. We cried. I shared with her where I came from. I shared with her how I felt when my husband tried to put his arms around me and how I pushed him away because I didn't want him to feel my fat, and how that brought down our communication, and how we were roommates in the same house for quite a few years, and how we thought maybe he didn't love me anymore, and so we left, and we went on and did detail about some of those things and our children. And she related. She just would shake her head and cry, and by the end of the conversation she's like, I want whatever book you tell me to read, and I need to change my heart and my mind, and then that way my house will grow even if they're not reading it. We talked about, it's not just about your health and fitness journey. It's not just about losing 10 pounds or 25 or 50 pounds and feeling good in our own skin. It starts there, but it's so much more than that. And if we're not breaking down that wall and sharing that parts of us, she actually told me that she had decided to reach back out because I started sharing more on social media about my faith. I went to my church's women's retreat, and from then on, I became a lot more open about sharing what I'm learning in our spiritual webinars and in church, and the connections that I immediately got right after that were amazing. It was these women that want to grow closer in their faith as well, and they feel stuck, and or that are continuously growing, and love the fact that that's where my heart is too. And it's like a flower blossomed in my garden, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing feeling, but
a whole new group of people that you can relate to.
it is, and I'm not afraid. You know what? I don't care. Luckily, I hadn't had anyone comment negatively on any of those kind of faith-based posts. But she said, I didn't realize that you were that, you were really a Christian woman, or that you were that much in your faith, and that's what I want to be surrounded by in this journey. That's what I'm looking for as well. Like, it's a whole package for her, and she would have never known that, and she wouldn't have reached out to me like that if I wasn't breaking down those walls and sharing that. So, I mean, everybody has something. I mean, it could not be that. You could be struggling with, an eating disorder, or, anger management. I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life, but if you're not being vulnerable enough to share that in a way to where you can give hope to the people that are reading it, then you're not going to attract people like you.
Right. And it's going to be more surface. And when you get too surface, they don't go to the rooftop necessarily. You know what I mean? And that's where you need people to go, because like this is the long game. Remember what I said, and that connection has to be deep. And so you have to be willing to be vulnerable with people and to kind of share where you came from. So I love that. And you know, the thing is a lot of us don't realize that people actually need us to stop pretending like we're perfect. You know what I mean? Like nothing's wrong. That is just, you guys have to understand, like we live on earth, okay? So we all have issues, you know what I mean? That's just totally BS. Like go sit and dandy and let's pull the crap out from underneath your rug that you've been hiding and been taught to hide for so long, for you to be able to sit there and be like, nope, everything's perfect. Because I've sat in that spot before. You know what I mean? Where you try to hide it all, because that's how we're taught to be, right? You don't really start to make the connections, and it's so healing through that when you start to get that person coming back and leaning in with you. You realize that a message will be made out of your mess, and it's like you just shine even brighter, and you become a light for people. You know what I mean? And so Chad and I have gone through that, so many times, and people have asked me, like, how do you know when you're ready to share it? You know what I mean? Only you will know. I had to start to get through the situation when Chad and I were struggling before. It's not like right in the middle of Chad and I's struggle was I just being like telling everybody right on Facebook as we were getting in arguments. You know what I mean? Because if I would have done that, I would have called him all kind of dishonorable things, because I'm human. Instead, my heart had to heal, right? We had to work through that. I had to a little bit till I started to share, and then people started to connect. Does that make sense? And I started to develop skills for him and I to heal that then I could pass on. Isn't that the point? Like your struggles, as you have the courage to work through whatever struggle whatever thorn, so to speak, that you have, as you are develop tools to work through it, now you can be the light for someone else. Isn't that the whole point? You know what I mean? That's why, like, there's only one you. So when people are like, isn't the market flooded? Only if they figured out how to clone people, and for some reason there's a million yous out there, then yes. Do you know what I mean? But if you're willing to get uncomfortable and get vulnerable, no, it's not flooded, because there's only one you, and there's people out there that will see hope through you. And as you break down those walls and make real connections. Did you have anything to add to that, Heather?
No, I mean, not really. Your story was great. I think
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because this takes us right into the fourth point. So we got 2 more points, so hang with us, you guys. Our fourth point is being able to connect with the people that need you. Hold on a second. Heather's going to talk about this, because I know this girl's passionate about this one. But connecting with the people that need you, not the people that you need. Do you see that it's, we got in I can get pretty fired up about this topic. It's what's wrong with our country right now. Instead of our country used to say, what can I do for my country? And now it's, what can my country do for me? Me. What can it do for me? Free college? Awesome. I want free college. You want to pay for this? You want to shoot up this? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? What can this country do for me? Where the mentality, the mindset, the heart used to be, what can I do for my country? Right? So a lot of times in this business, we take that mentality, what can my country do for me? And we take it into this business, what can everybody do for me? What can my upline do for me? What can this person do for me? When are they going to start building the business so they can build my volume? Why aren't they working hard for me, for me, for me, for me? Me is the society that we live in. Okay, and that's why we're at where we're at. Okay, so connecting, I love that Heather talked about this, because she said you have to connect with the people that need you. It takes the selfishness out of it, right? That's a mindset. So I'm gonna let you run with this, Heather.
So yeah, basically, when we're digging deep and we're finding out what we are and what our journey is and how we're sharing this on Facebook. One of the things that I've been doing is, we have Facebook, so we have these groups that we can relate to, these private groups that we can connect to. For me, it's my Thyroid Cancer Sisters group. It's a group group of people like, some of them are just beginning with cancer, or they've been cancer-free for years and years. It's about sharing and getting in there and sharing your own uniqueness. Yeah. So I'm kind of, but yeah, getting into those groups that you're connecting with and really finding the ones that need you the most, that you can connect with and that you can build relationships with. And just really showing up in those groups and being vulnerable and offering, the words of encouragement and helping the ones that are in pain, because there's a lot of them out there in pain. But do you have any groups that you're part of that you know?
I'm in a Facebook group, and you and I were talking about this earlier before the call, was that, we get in these groups, we're told, I don't know where you go, trainings to find interest groups and to kind of add to your list and things like that. And if you're lost and you kind of don't really know where to go from there, so you're just hanging out in a Facebook group. And there's ways to, it's just sharing. You're not in there to be salesy. You're not in there to post something about a free group or this or that. Like you were connecting with, your thyroid sisters and getting to know them and trying to be a light for them because you want to. And we just shared, awesome baseball stories and questions about travel, and awesome pictures of our kids and baseball, women all across the state. I didn't post anything in there about my business or fitness, but we're just getting to know each other, right? Messaging them and things like that. And then before you realize it, you have someone asking, it's baseball season, and does anyone have any good tips or ideas on recipes or what, how I can make my grocery shopping less more budgetable and things like that. So if there's something that I had to add of value, then I would add value to it. Before I knew it, I had became friends with a bunch of them. They saw what I was posting on my Facebook page. I posted about some fun free groups that, went towards what they were looking for. And, it could be a year or a year and a half later, but now, I've had some awesome relationships come out of that group, and some of them have been my challengers, some of them haven't. But, if there's a need there, then they know where to go. We've created a friendship. And that's,
so let's talk about that for a second.
What it's all about.
Yes, let's talk about that. We blended into number 5 a little bit, which is good because it naturally goes. It really naturally goes, and so we're going to go there in a second. But I want you guys to hear what Angela said when she was talking, about, how she was connecting in groups, right, with how she could add value. That is a heart condition. Okay, so like I opened up very passionately about how can I serve this group, so no matter what group you're in, whether from thyroid to baseball to a military group to horses, whatever is of interest to you, you don't, certain things are placed on your heart. You're wonderfully made, uniquely made. I don't like horses. I should not go into, not that I don't like them, but I don't know anything about them. I do not ride them. I will not get on one. I should not go into a group, just to start poaching people. You know what I mean? I should go into a military wives group, maybe, to help with the intention of, as people start to struggle through, to support them through deployments, because I know how that feels, and I can direct people towards daddy dolls or, the daddy, what's that book called?
Daddy's Deployed.
Daddy's Deployed books that are, that are made special for kids and different things. Be the connector, like Danny says, you know what I mean? Or, you have these resources that you're trying to add value. I think of Libby Wilson and all her awesome, snack ideas and stuff like that. When she's in mom groups, her intention should be to add value through, hey, have you ever thought about doing it this way? Not expecting anything in return, but knowing that you reap what you sow. Okay, you reap what you sow. So you will develop a relationship through what we call number 5, the crock pot connection. And this is the 5th tip that they're going to give you for social media from the rooftop. Number 5 is you have to understand that it is not a microwave connection. It's a crock pot connection. I'm going to let you run with this. Is this yours, Heather?
Yeah, and I kind of, like you said, I kind of accidentally went into it before, but about the Facebook groups, something that I'll do is, you know, when I'm in these groups and I'm showing up and I'm sharing what I'm doing, or I'm, you know, reading other people's posts that are struggling, and I'm, you know, commenting on these groups, and I'm showing up, and I'm connecting with these people. If there's somebody that I'm specifically connecting with, I'll friend request them, and if they accept my friend request, I will send them either that night or the next day, you know, a quick message just saying, you know, hey, so nice to connect with another thyroid cancer survivor. How are you? And that kind of opens up for more conversation. And from that point on, you know, we'll start the conversation and then go from there. And then they'll see me on my Facebook page doing what I'm doing, you know, sharing my journey even more. They'll see, you know, what I'm doing. But yeah, and building those relationships, building those friendships, showing up and help, you know, giving them hope for, you know, sharing.
Right. No, that's, and you have to go in with that mindset that it is a crock pot relationship, you guys. You have to understand, we are humans. We are not machines. So it'd be really odd, right, to go in, okay, so for example, say you went to a dating site, right, and you went on there right away, and instead of going on a date, he just straight right said, will you marry me? I just think we're the one, you know. I hope this, you know, if they start with, I hope this isn't, you know, too much out of the blue, but will you just marry me? Let's just go with it. You know what I mean? Like that's like, you guys be like, no one would ever do that, right? So why would we? Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a marriage. Do you know what I mean? Like Danny Johnson always says, like, date your people. Do you know what I mean? Like, get to know them. Like, genuinely get to know them. They are human beings. And again, that is a mindset, that is a heart condition about what you think about your long game, so to speak. You know what I mean? Your intention behind it, what you believe this vessel means to you, your belief, life and death is in the power of the tongue. All of that kind of stuff comes back to believe or bust that Aaron Booker talked about 2 weeks ago, right? So what your belief has to be in place when you sit, and the only way that it can progress, if you're like, well, how do I overcome that? Well, listen to Aaron Booker's webinar that's on our team YouTube, and then come here and listen to these two that said it takes action to overcome what? Fear, right? It takes action to overcome those fears. And so you have to understand, though, at the foundation of all of this, you have to understand that it is a crock pot connection. And that's what social media is. If you treat it that way, if your long game is to be here 7 years from now, your post won't be urgent. It won't be like sale, sale, sale. And it won't crush you if you get 3 Success Club points 1 month and 8 the next, or 7 the next, because it averages out to 10. Does that make sense? Like, do you know what I'm saying? It won't, because it's the long game. It's not the short game. It won't crush you if you have a big old Success Club goose egg. You know, Sherry Beasley is a great example. I don't know if she had a goose egg per se, but last month, you know, she's just been rocking Success Club, okay, for as long as I've known her, pretty much. And then last month, just that 1 month, she didn't get it, right? She didn't get it. If she wasn't in for the long game, if she didn't have this mindset, this crock pot connection mindset, in her, you know, as her foundation, it would have totally sank her. But instead, it was looking at it from the big point of view. She controlled what she could control. She uses Teamsy. She was making all those connections. And what? She's already at Success Club 10 this month. Okay? Does that make sense? But it comes from these crockpot connections and people for Sherry that they're coming around. Like Angela said, like, she made these connections in a year, 2 years later, but Angela still had to be here. You know what I mean? Sharing, being vulnerable, putting all these together, like taking that fear of judgment, taking that negative voice and telling it to go to hell, and then, you know, sharing her story and going deeper, you know, and and really, really connecting with those that need them and taking the crock pot mentality and wrapping it up. And it's quite that simple. Did you guys have anything to add to that? Any final words from you guys? They're frozen a lot. They're speechless right now.
I don't think so.
Just be yourself. Be yourself.
Just be you.
Just
Everyone's gonna love you.
Yep, just be you. And
We
that
all
is
have our own journey, so just share and share.
absolutely, you guys. This is a really good webinar. I appreciate you two for coming on here and being real and sharing on social media. You guys have to understand that where they've come from, they started out fearful, okay? I think a lot of us see successful coaches like these two and you think they never had a fear. Like, you must have just been good at public speaking. You must have just been good at social media. You must have just been good at working out. It must be easy for you to get up at 5 to work out. It must be easy for you to eat clean, right? But you just heard their story. They're just like most of us when you start out, those fears. I mean, my fears stopped me for signing up for 4 months, and then my fears stopped me from doing anything for a whole year. But it's action that started to help me to overcome it. It's my storytelling and being real and vulnerable that helped me start to heal and let those connections start happening. And it's a crock pot mentality that has allowed those relationships to just flip and like simmer in a crock pot. You know, those that you walk into a house that has a crock pot like cooking, you know, your husband walks in and is like, dang, it smells good in here. It's that kind of business. You don't want a stinky business. You know, you don't want a microwave hungry man comes out, you know, visit those type of relationships where you can't tell like if the meat is even meat. You know what I mean? The mashed potatoes are, I don't even know what they are. You know what I'm saying? Right? You want that. You want crock pot relationships. Think long game, you guys. Think like these two. Follow their footsteps. They are 2%ers, okay? They have the fruit, okay? You have to check the person's fruit, okay? And I'm not saying they have to be perfect. I'm saying they have to be moving in a positive direction. You don't ask for advice, okay? You don't ask for advice. If you're struggling in your marriage, you don't go to someone that's been divorced 5 times and ask them for marital advice, like your marriage is failing. That's common sense. You go to the couple. This is what I would do. You go to the couple that has been married 50 plus years, and you sit down like we got to at Deanie Johnson's Dynasty, and you listen to their advice, you know, and how they worked through things and how they overcame losing a child. You go to that person, right? The same thing goes for here. Okay, you go to the person, you go to these two when it comes to social media that have overcome the fear, that are showing up and they're making those connections and they're being real and vulnerable and they have their fruit. Their business is growing. Their family is healing. They are healing. Team Shockwave is thriving. You have to go to the fruit. You guys, thank you so much for being real and vulnerable. And Heather, stepping so far outside your comfort zone today, you know. And like I told you on the phone, John Maxwell told everybody at Summit the year that I spoke for the very first time that you are never good at anything you do the first time. You are, write that down. You are never good at anything you do the first time, okay? When your child walked for the first time, were they good at it? No, they busted their face, the butt. You know it over and over and over again. The first time your child rode a bike, were they like doing like BMX flips and stuff? No way, right? So why do we put that pressure on ourselves? The first time you do an invite or you start figuring out how to use Teamsy, or the first time you do something in this business, don't expect to be good at it. Give yourself the grace, right? So that's what I said when I went out the first time I spoke in front of 8,000 people. I said, it's a good thing that John Maxwell just told you that you don't have to be good. You're not good the first time you do something, because this is my first time, so don't expect me to be good, right? Right? So just don't expect me to be good. You guys can use that for the rest of your life. Every time you do something for the first time, and it allows other people to feel safe to try to start doing something outside of their comfort zone. So Heather and Angela, I'm so appreciative of you guys stepping outside your comfort zone to share tonight. Congratulations to you guys and Team Shockwave. You guys are thriving. You guys take these notes. I know it was a little broken up, but take these notes that we went through. Your fear of judgment, how to overcome it, sharing your story, becoming vulnerable. Okay, connecting with the people that need you, and that crockpot connection foundation, take that and apply it. Start taking action through it. All right, you guys, I love every single one of you. You're wonderfully made. You're a blessing to myself, to this team, to Chad. We're forever thankful for you guys. Have an awesome week. Stay focused. Stay uniquely you, and keep growing. Love you guys. I'll talk to you later. See ya.